Colm Kelleher, famous Skinwalker range scientist and co-author of the great book Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, and also The Hunt for the Skinwalker, now is talking about man-made UFOs and giant UFOs. So let's talk about this. Let's hear what he has to say and discuss. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, I love Colm. He's been in this game for a long time. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff he knows that he can't talk about. And it's interesting in this lecture, this presentation that he gave just a few days ago, he talks about one of his own sightings where he saw a really interesting UFO performing and with fantastic maneuvers that, you know, obviously was not a mundane craft. And was that one of ours? Was that one of theirs? You know, who's to say? But let's hear what he has to say about, man-made UFOs that are ours. And, well, I'll just let you hear it.
But we had the good fortune to interview Colonel Barry Hennessy, who was the head of AFOSIPJ, Air Force Office of Special Investigations, which is the counterintelligence arm of the United States Air Force. And its role is to protect special access programs and advanced technology. Its role is also to engage in deception and covert programs to...
Some people think the Air Force Office of Special Investigations is actually the Men in Black. You know, maybe they do have some sort of relationship. Maybe they overlap in some areas. I don't think they are the Men in Black, but they do some shenanigans. It does seem to be.
To mask the special access programs that they have. And frequently, according to Colonel Barry Hennessy, it's very, very common to use the UFO phenomenon in a deceptive way to perpetrate rumors, to perpetrate innuendo regarding, crashes of, advanced prototypes are turned into UFO crashes and stories about UFO crashes. We also asked him about the so-called Northern Tier sightings, which is that in the 1970s, we had Loring Air Force Base in Maine, Smith Air Force Base in Wisconsin, Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana, Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota. All of these Air Force bases were plagued by UFO activity during the 1970s and 1980s. Colonel Hennessy was pretty frank in telling us that, yes, some of these were ours. We were using these as penetration detectors to see what the rapid reaction to an emergency would be on these Air Force bases, which are extremely important. They're there for the sort of defense of the United States against incoming over the North Pole. But he said a good, 50% of these cases, they had no idea who was invading their airspace. So the top panel here is basically saying that Colonel Hennessy was saying that there was very, very frequent deceptive programs that were being deployed to fool people into thinking that UFOs were there, where in fact it was just a cover for special access programs. Bottom panel and left-hand side, NIDS, National Institute for Discovery Science, investigated about 150 separate cases of black triangles during the 1990s and the 2000s. And it was a remarkable sort of data set because they were almost identical cases from all around the United States. People were seeing these large, football field-sized objects, triangular in shape, brightly lit, extremely low flying, and we're talking treetop level. We're not talking 1,000 feet. Treetop level, and completely silent. They were flying over people's homes and homesteads in the United States. They were floating down interstate highways, and after the first 10, we began to say, if this is a United States Air Force special access program, these pilots are absolutely crazy. They're probably on DMT. But after the first 100 cases, we began to realize, something else is going on. So the hypothesis we came up with was that, in fact, the phenomenon was probably mimicking special access programs, because there is really no other explanation for these low-flying, they're incredible safety hazards for these low-flying aircraft to be literally treetop level over populated areas. It just would not happen. People would be fired immediately in that situation, and they would lose their security clearances. So bottom line is, there are two lenses of deception for UFO, investigating UFO activity. Those two lenses cause a blurring of the actual UFO phenomenon. So it is one reason why we think that it has been pretty slow going in terms of coming to good data on the UFO phenomenon. This phenomenon has been in our faces for 75 years, and we have not made a lot of progress in the investigation of this phenomenon. And one of the reasons, in our opinion, is that there are two layers of deception that you have to go through. This is not a normal scientific program. This is not hematology, it's not immunology, where you can kind of trust what you're studying. You can't trust what you're studying. And so I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, so there you go. There are giant UFOs that Colm Kelleher thinks are mimicking special access programs. Is that what's really going on, or are they, just giant UFOs that are flying around? Not trying to mimic anything, but just doing their thing, just doing whatever they are. But they could also be man-made, or they could be co-crewed by humans, as in the Terry Lovelace case, where he saw 50 military people aboard a giant UFO. He says it was the size of a Walmart, which I guess you could say is the size of a football field, and which is the size of craft that I've talked about or shown videos on several times recently. There have been witnesses who have seen these giant craft flying around that have humans on them. In the Terry Lovelace case, there were 50 humans, and the bulk of the craft was crewed by non-humans. In the other cases, they may or may not have had non-humans aboard. Now, some of the giant craft seem exclusively non-human. It's impossible to say which are the ones in these cases that Colm Kelleher is referencing. But it is very intriguing that they might be trying to mimic human behavior or special access programs, because sometimes you do get that in the phenomenon, this mimicking behavior, this trying to disguise it as something else. You hear stories about airplanes that aren't really airplanes. That'll, when you look at them really closely, they'll turn out to have two fuselages or something like that. Or clouds that are not really clouds. They seem to have an ability to cloak themselves. So when they don't want to be seen, you can't see them. But sometimes they will disguise themselves as something that you can see. And that is very intriguing to me. I don't understand that. I don't think that is human technology. I don't think that humans with that sort of technology would disguise themselves as a cloud or a plane if they had the ability to cloak themselves. It's also interesting that the fellow who he talked with, who was part of the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, says that they would use UFOs, or the idea of UFOs, to test the defenses of Air Force bases, and that half of these sightings might be attributed to that. Now, there's a whole lot of sightings. Can they all be attributed to stuff like that? Do they test Air Force bases that much with fancy technology? that could be misidentified as UFOs? Somehow, I don't think so. I don't think you can necessarily trust any information you get from somebody that works with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. But that's just me. I could be wrong. Maybe that ratio is exactly correct. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But I wanted to share this information with you because there have been multiple sources that I've shown you recently that have been talking about giant UFOs. So that seems to be a thing. They're not cloaked. They're letting themselves be seen by some people. And some of them seem to have humans aboard. And this is being talked about more and more. What are these giant UFOs doing? You know, Colm Kelleher is talking about them flying low over trees or, roads. What are they doing? Why are they letting themselves be seen? Maybe the giant ones don't have an ability to cloak themselves. Obviously, it didn't cause a big stir. People didn't get it on camera, or if they did, the video was seized and destroyed. So what exactly is going on there? It seems like if they did allow themselves to be seen, they knew that there would be no evidence of it. Did they disable the thought in people's mind? No, don't take a picture, don't take a video. Because that does seem to be a thing from time to time. If they don't want you to video or take a photograph, you won't even have the thought to do that. However, sometimes people are called out of their house to take a video when they do want to be seen and do want you to present your evidence to the world. So, it's one of those really interesting things where you get, this agenda of disclosure and this agenda of concealment. But yeah, what are these giant UFOs doing? What are they abducting people? Are they regulating the Earth's energy field or doing something fancy like that? Are they a tour group from Zeta Reticuli? What is going on with these giant UFOs that sometimes do have people aboard, and sometimes will even take people aboard and perform abduction type procedures? At least that was the case in the witness at the Stephen Greer press conference. He was taken aboard this giant UFO with his wife, and both of them were subjected to procedures. He didn't know what they were for, what the purpose of that was, but this was a thing that happened, and this was performed by humans, or at least they looked like humans. They did not seem to be Nordics or anything, but who knows? Maybe it was a screen memory. They were disguising themselves as humans, presenting themselves as humans, when really they were something completely different. But I do get the impression in that instance that they were actually humans, and in the Terry Lovelace instance and other instances, there do seem to be humans aboard these craft. So the control group is looking more and more like the secret space program, or the secret space program is part of the control group that does look more and more like some sort of reality. And yeah, I'm talking about the Gary McKinnon kind of thing, where there are giant ships, and Gary McKinnon, hacked into NASA and was able to see the roster of who was on these ships. And I was never 100% sure about Gary McKinnon, or if he had maybe hacked into some disinformation and seen something that was designed to spread a lie. But I think that he was probably hacking into the truth, and that these giant ships do exist, and there's people going into space, working with aliens, doing something, helping with abductions. We don't know what it's all about. This is far bigger than MJ-12 or some small cabal within the government. This is truly, as Richard Dolan calls it, a breakaway civilization, or at least that's what I am seeing from the evidence. But let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the like bell, smash the subscribe bell, do a lot of smashing, and hit the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love to see you guys there. If you want to support the channel, there's a PayPal link below or a email. You can do a super chat. You can buy one of my books. I write great books. I'm a science fiction fantasy writer. If that's the kind of book you like, you might dig my stuff. There's plenty of other videos on the channel to check out. And until next time, this is Jack with Cosmic Road signing out.